Hi, I'm Doug McKinlay and you're watching Adorama TV. Well, today we're in Doug's cooking program. But instead of making tacos or steaks or spaghetti, we're gonna cook up some splash photography. This is something you can do with everything you've got around the house. I'm not a studio guy, so I don't have all the studio equipment, but the challenge here is to create good splash pictures using items that I can find either in my camera bag or in the garden tool shed or in the kitchen somewhere. Now you can see we've already started to get set up. So we've got our bowl where we're gonna put our milk and drop our berry into it. In this case, it's a strawberry. Our tripod to keep our camera still and steady. A camera, which is a 5D Mark III, and a 24 to 70 2.8 zoom lens. Speedlite and a cable released so we don't have to touch the camera. And for me, I'm using a sync cord, but go wireless if you can. I'm just a bit old school this way. Tripod first, of course. We need it to be nice and stable. We can snap our camera onto the pod using the tripod plate on the bottom of the camera. Now make sure that's on there good and tight. Make sure your tripod's good and tight because it can be a bit top heavy, so you gotta be careful with this. Now we've got a glass bowl that we're gonna be using. I'm gonna put about, I don't know, an inch or two of three of milk in there as our sort of splash liquid. At the moment I've got it on an old piece of MDF. Now I suggest maybe using a black piece of slate or tile. It might work a little better, but this is what I had to hand. And from there I'm going to set I've got my scrim or my reflector leaning up against the kitchen tap, believe it or not. And in behind, I've got my Speedlite sitting on top of a ceramic bowl to give it a bit of elevation. Now I'm just gonna be blasting the light through the scrim onto our subject and hopefully giving it enough light and speed of the light to stop the action. The next important techie bit is your shutter speeds, ISOs, and your aperture. Now we need a fast shutter speed. We need to stop the action. So I would say up around 1,000th of a second. In terms of f-stop, I want some depth of field, so I'd like to get 8. I'd love to get 11, but we're not sure about that until we start trying it. ISO, I'll start at 200 and I'll work my way up in order to help with the f number and the shutter speed. Great, so let's give it a test. Now one critical thing about your Speedlite is the amount of power you're gonna use. Best to power the flash down to about 1/64th power or even 1/128th. Now the reason for this is, first, you don't really need that much power, but the speed of the light coming from the flash head is much faster at a lower power than it is at full power. Therefore, its ability to stop action is better. Now you have to play around with this. You have to try it, say, at 64, then go to 1/128th or 1/32nd or 1/16th, whatever works for you. But the only way to figure it out is just to try it. So I've got this one set at, I'm gonna start at 1/64th of a second. Now I've also got it set to high speed sync. Now most flashes will sync at around 1/250th or 1/200th, but most modern flash heads will allow you to go to high speed sync where you can use much faster shutter speeds. So we're almost all set up for our kitchen countertop splash photography. But before we get started, we want to make sure that our exposures are correct. So I'm just going to take a test shot. Remember that my flash head is set to 1/64th of power. I'm just going to making sure that my meter is with the cursor in the middle there. And we'll go ahead and take a test shot. And looking at the back of the camera, it looks okay. So I'm set now at 1/800th of a second at f8. Now I've got a really high ISO here. I'm at 6400 to get that shutter speed that I need. So we're almost ready to go. We are actually ready to go. So we're gonna try our first drop shot and hopefully we can attain Cartier-Bressen's decisive moment. Don't get discouraged when you're doing this stuff. It takes a few attempts. Now, for your focusing, make sure you're focused properly. So how I do it is I autofocus onto my subject, in this case, the bowl of milk. And then once I've autofocused, I then switch to manual focus Then I go into live view on the back of the camera, zoom in to 5 times, just tweak the focus if it needs to be, come back out of it, and that's it. Now, you will get some light leakage from the back of the camera through the eyepiece, so cover it up or something. I'm just gonna use my wallet. There, dead simple. This is it. This is the moment of truth. And here we go. We'll have a quick look, see if we got any luck. Give it another go. Remember to cover up that eyepiece. Now, if you are so inclined, you could wipe the bowl down between shots, but I'm not that pedantic. Let's have a look. Much better. Now, let me just say that a tool that is absolutely necessary when you're doing this kind of photography, absolutely necessary, almost more than the camera itself, is a kitchen cloth. You gotta wipe your hands, you gotta wipe the tops, because that splash is gonna get everywhere. So there you have it. That's my version of kitchen countertop splash photography using bits and bobs from around the house, garden shed, etc. Thanks, and I'm Doug McKinlay for Adorama TV. Don't forget you can subscribe to Adorama TV for more great videos, and tell us what you think. You can like, comment, or share this video, and please stop by the Adorama Learning Center for more great tips and tricks.